Today's show is all about binding. Stay tuned to learn how to finish your quilts. Hey quilters, welcome to Quilt Live. I'm Pam Heller, Quilt's cutting expert. Thanks for joining us on this last Wednesday of 2023. Hey, Brock's in the house. How are you, Brock?
Hi.
Hi. So Brock is not on camera this morning because
Having a bad hair day.
he is having a bad hair day. And but Chelsea's here in the studio, and we're glad that she is here. We had some change in our staff this morning, so Brock will be answering questions off camera, but he is in the house. All right, hey Brock, did you see this?
Yeah, you cold? What's going on?
This is the new luxury blanket from our good friends at Memory Stitch, and it's made of this beautiful cuddle fabric. It comes in two different colors and 3 different sizes, and it's lovely and warm. And you can, if you go to memorystitch.com, you can check it out. It's really nice and heavy. It's a weighted, almost a weighted blanket. But I'm going to give it to Miss Chelsea, who's always cold. So here you go, ma'am. All right. Ooh, now it's chilly in the studio. All right, where is everyone watching from today? Monique says it's gloomy in central Pennsylvania. What's it like here, Brock?
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. We had a white Christmas. We weren't expecting it, but we did. And Leslie says hello from near Chicago, and Carol's from New Mexico. Thanks for watching. All right, quilters, let's showcase the new projects in our intro video. First up, look at this one by Carly. Carly, I love this because you used batiks and now it looks like stained glass. So I'm sure you used strip dies and then maybe the 1-inch strip die for the black to make it look, it finishes to 1/2 inch. What do you think, Brock? Does that look about a 1/2 inch?
Yeah, it looks right.
Yeah, okay. Next we have Victoria C. Oh, this is so cute. She used our canning jar die to make this super cute quilt that looks like it's hanging in her pantry. I like that a lot. All right, quilters, today is all about binding. So let's see my photo of the day. Okay, this is me sewing binding. I really, binding is kind of the bane of my existence. I really struggle to finish quilts because binding to me, I don't know. Some people love to bind. I always bind with a machine. But the question of the day is, how many UFOs do you still need to bind? Which is a great question because we're here almost to the end of 2023. I am happy to announce that while I still have 9 UFOs, 0 need binding. I bound them all a couple of weeks ago, so I'm pretty excited. So in the comments section, Brocco, let us know, how many UFOs do you still need to bind? Today, I am going to give away the strip die of your choice. Be sure and register for future events on the Quilt events page for your chance to win. And Brock's going to announce the winner of our registered viewer. Listen, if you won, I already sent you an email this morning. So check your emails from me. Let me know. We're trying to get all the things done in 2023. All right, so we have a whole bunch of strip dies. We have the 2.5-inch strip die, the 2.25-inch strip die, the 1.5, the 1 3/4, and oh, a 10 by 24 cutting mat. We'll get one. So let's use these strip dies to make a variety of bindings for your quilts. So let's start with basic binding. And I'm gonna grab it here. All right, so most quilters use 2.5-inch strips to bind their quilts. So whether you finish them on your machine or by hand, here is the fastest, most accurate way to cut 2.5-inch strips. So let's talk about this strip die. We have how many sizes of strips, Brock?
18?
18 is the correct number. Yep. And we have 2 that fit through the Go Me. So they are a 6x24 die board. But let's talk about them. So this is our 2.5-inch strip die. It is our most popular die ever. So there are only 4 blades here. 1, 2, 3, 4. No blades down here and no blades down here. These other lines are for reference to cut squares and diamonds. We have lots of videos on our website and our YouTube page that show you how to cut strips and then cut squares and diamonds. But today we're just going to cut strips. So 2.5, 2.5, and 2.5 is 7.5 inches. So I just rough cut 8-inch width of fabric strip, okay? And typically, this is a little short piece because I cut some stuff off. I usually cut off the salvage edge. You're not going to use it, so typically I cut it off. In fact, let's just do that right now because I'm going to kind of show you a cool trick. Some of you, like the lovely Erica, save those salvage edges. I do not. I'm trying to find a ruler that's just gonna.
What kind of uses could you get out of saving those salvage edges if you want?
Oh, you could make like little, you could sew them all together and make like bowl cozies and mug rugs. We have lots of people who save their salvages. That's a good question. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up so that my fold is parallel to this black line. Notice, quilters, how I stopped. I didn't bring it all the way to the edge. The blades stop here. So if I were to run it through the cutter right now, it would stop cutting here and you would have like hula skirts. I feel like you want to have strips. So what you're going to do is you're going to come right here, line it up with that black line. Brock, how many layers can we cut?
Up to 6 layers of cotton fabric.
Yep. And if you had 6 layers of cotton fabric, you could actually cut enough binding for a queen size quilt in 1 pass through the cutter.
1 pass?
1 pass.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? Okay, so I have a 6x24 mat. This size strip die will fit through your Go and your Go Big, so I'm going to use my Go Big today. Greg's in the house. Greg, did you have a good holiday?
Terrific.
Terrific. We're glad you're here. Kenyon apparently is having a great holiday because he is not here.
I might have to disagree with that. I think his holiday would be so much better if he was here.
If he was here hanging out with us?
Yeah.
I agree. All right, we're going to give it some love. It is super staticky here in the Dream Studio. See how it sticks to my pieces? But now look at this, quilters. We have perfect strips. There's no mountain in the middle. It's not wonky. It's perfect every time. Okay? So here is my pro tip, and actually it's from the lovely Erica. You want to cut and sew your binding strips when you cut the rest of your fabric for your project. That way, 2 things. You know you have enough fabric, and then you'll be ready to go when it comes to finishing your quilt. Who knew? Erica knew. So I try to do that now. All of our videos live on our website, our Facebook page, and our YouTube channel. You can always go back and watch this and all of our other previous shows. Be sure and subscribe to our YouTube page. All right, so now once you cut your strips, there we go, you're going to want to sew them together to create binding. Now, I love mitered edges. Oh, I'm going to move this here. Oh, hey, before I get into this, Brock, do we have questions or comments?
We have some people letting us know what's going on with their UFO.
Okay, let's tell us about our UFO. Oh, wait, before we start, what do you think the most UFOs are going to be on our show? The person, how many UFOs do you think they have to bind? What do you think? Pick a number.
I've already kind of looked through some of the answers, so I might might be able to get pretty close on a guess, so I'll abstain from this guess. But what do you, how many? What's the high number you're going for?
Okay, well, I'm going to go for 23. How about you, Chelsea? Chelsea says 52.
52.
And Greg? How many UFOs do you think people are going to have?
48.
48. Okay, so now, will you tell us a little bit about how many UFOs they have to bind?
We'll get into some of these here. So Monique doesn't give us a number. She just says, oh, so many.
Good job, Monique.
Pam Owens, she's got about 7 or 8.
Oh, that's good.
So
Okay.
good, reasonable. Randy says 0.
0.
He is
Randy and I are in the
caught up.
0 club.
Lorraine H, 2 to bind, and many flimsies.
Oh, yeah.
Many flimsies. So she only has to bind 2. Elizabeth V only has 1 more to go. Jeannie W is also at 0. So is Donna Faye, and also is Toby from Oklahoma, all at 0. Good job, guys.
Good job, you guys.
Keeping up on stuff.
There you go. There you go. All right, I love that. I have actually, oh, I'm so embarrassed to say this. I have actually gifted a quilt to my dad, and the binding was not yet finished on it.
How dare you?
No, I'm so embarrassed by that. I
Your
only did it.
father, my biggest fan,
And
deserves
truly,
better than that.
is your biggest fan. Yeah. And it was funny because, I don't know, this year, I saw him earlier in the year, and I brought him a quilt, and the first question he asked was, now, is the binding done? I said, yes, I learned from that. I will never do that again, let me just say. Okay. All right, so now, once we've cut our strips, we want to miter our corners, okay? So back in the day, before I worked for AccuQuilt, and I didn't know better, I would take my 2 pieces together like this, and then I would mark it with a pen, and then I would stitch it, and then I would trim it. And then sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, but here was my thought. It's the binding, I'm just gonna fudge it, right? Because I can just manipulate how you press it. But I am gonna show you how to do it perfectly every single time. Okay, so what you need, don't forget this is taped, recorded. You can watch it anytime. What you need is a half square triangle bigger than your strip. So this is the flying geese die that comes with the Go Big electric fabric cutter. Quarter square triangles, half square triangles, they finish to 3 inches, okay? So my strips are only 2.5 inches. So what I'm gonna do is I want all of my pieces facing up. Did I not last week? Oh, hey, let's talk about it real quick while I'm talking about the fractured tumbler. Last week I forgot to put them all facing up and I cut it wrong, but Brock, tell us the good news about the fractured tumbler.
It's good news for
sold
us,
out.
but it's not good news for everybody because it's sold out.
Yeah, it is. It's sold out. So if you were the lucky ones to get it, congratulations. You might check with your local AccuQuilt retailer, but it's sold out on the website. We can email you when it's back in stock. Okay?
We can.
All right, so I've lined my strips. They're all facing up. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a smaller mat. So remember, quilters, it's only going to cut where there is fabric and a mat. So if I put my mat right here to the end, it's just going to cut off right here, and that's not what I want, okay? So I'm going to stop right before the end. I'm going to hold this up, and I'm going to bring it to my cutter, okay? And boy, I'm going to hold on till it starts to go. This is the only way I ever do it, okay? All right, so now look. It just came right out. But I'm going to show you why it worked. Okay. So now I have cut the 45-degree angle. Well, the die cut. I didn't cut anything. The die cut, a 45-degree angle, left that 1/4 inch seam allowance. So now look what I can do here, quilters. Now I can line things up perfectly, and I can stitch from here to here, and it's a perfect 1/4 inch seam. So if you want to know how to miter your corners, that's how you do it. You just need a 1/2 square triangle bigger than your strip. So if you have the 8-inch cube, you could use shape number 3, which is a 4-inch finished 1/2 square triangle. All of those, okay? All right. Any questions so far, Brock, or people telling us how many UFOs they have to bind?
We've got more UFO comments here. So Cheryl says, I hate to bind, so I save quilts to bind for when I go camping. Somehow the view of the lake while binding makes it a little bit better. That's the ultimate humble brag right there.
That is, because when she has a lake.
Oh, I have so many UFOs. I guess I'll just go sit by the lake and bind for a while.
Okay, so Brock, if you were sitting by a lake, would you bind quilts?
No.
No, I would not.
I'd just be watching the water to make
I'd just
sure
be
no
reading.
monsters pop out.
I'd be reading with my feet in the water.
So Jenny says, I have one that I need to put together and bind, down to 1. That's this time of year.
That's the
impressive.
best. That's the
Barbara
best.
Nicole says 12 and some are very large.
Oh, 12 to bind?
12 to
That is a
bind.
lot.
So right now, that's the high number. We're sitting at
Okay.
12. So all right, we've got Jane has 0. She's done. Debbie is done. I don't mind binding a quilt. She likes to bind. That's good. Doris is done. Marcia E has 3 left. Annette Anderson has 2. Let's see here. Jeannie has 0.
Yay!
6 have to be quilted, but the binding is done. Or I bind as I go when she.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Jane, one of my UFOs are at that point. All need to be quilted first.
Yeah. I have some that are at the quilter.
And
Thanks, Christina, for quilting them.
Lori says that she loves to hand stitch her binding, so I'm guessing
Okay.
she's got a few to do.
So Jill, who works on our team, she loves to hand bind. She loves that. She loves to get a quilt and sit down and watch TV and hand bind. So I feel like anytime I have a project to hand bind, I'm just going to take it to Jill and say, here, would you do this for me?
Yeah,
In her spare time, right?
Yep, my mom's a hand binder.
Is she a hand binder?
Yep, she likes to do.
How many UFOs do you think she has still to bind?
0.
0. Way to go, Mama Brock. That's awesome.
She gets it done.
All right. I have already started to look at new quilts, and I still have 9 UFOs, so we got to get going. All right, so quilters, why is an AccuQuilt fabric cutter better than rotary cutting? Whenever, before I worked for AccuQuilt, when I would cut strips using a ruler and a rotary cutter, my strips were always wonky, right? You got that mountain in the middle, and with AccuQuilt, my strips come out every single time. All right, so how about bias binding? Quilters ask me about cutting bias binding all the time, so let me show you how to do it. We're going to use our 2.5-inch strip die that we just used. Brock, this is a new die. I'm liking it a lot. Okay. Then what I have done is I have cut, oh, this is my sample quilt. Okay. I have cut 16 inches width of fabric, and I have cut off my salvage edge. Again, I'm going to have to cut it off anyway. I might as well do it now, okay? And before we show you how to lay this out, think about this. When would you use bias binding? Brock, when would we use it?
When you feel like it.
When you feel like it, or maybe around corners?
Yeah, corners. That's what that was.
Curves,
the next thing I was gonna
curves.
say.
Lots of people use binding on. Lots of people use it every day. Okay, so if you have a 2.5-inch strip die, this will work. All of you are going to say to me, Pam, what about other sizes of strips? The answer is, if you use the 2 1/4, the 2.5, and the 2, this 16 inches is the right amount. After that, I got nothing. Okay, sorry. All right. So here we go. So we're going to lay this out, all right, all the way. We're going to open it up all the way. Okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull this side down. Now look, right here, quilters, see this? Look at all that stretch. That's the bias edge. Okay, that's what we want to cut on. So now we're going to take this side and pull it up. Now sometimes quilters, I know, they press it here so that it stays. Notice I did not press mine, okay? I think you're good, all right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to very carefully turn my fabric. So now here's that bias edge. It's parallel to these blades in the cutter. And then I'm going to bring it up just like this to the middle. All right? Take your time. Practice. Practice on old fabric, not good grunge. All right, now notice I have all of this hanging off here and I have a whole bunch here. So I'm going to very carefully come right here to the edge, okay? I want to make sure my fold comes in, okay? So now we're going to fold it like an envelope. All right, see, here's the edges of the blade, so I can move it down just a little, okay? And then I'm going to fold it here. Do you say envelope or envelope? Brock?
Depends the company I'm in, if I need to be fancy or not.
Okay. We are not fancy here, so I'm assuming you're going to say envelope. Okay, so look at that.
Wow.
I know, it's kind of pretty. So look, the fabric is, here's the edges of the blades. I just realized I'm wearing my glasses. Hey. Okay. Just saw myself on the screen. Okay, look. All the way in there. All right, so now I'm going to need my 10 by 24 cutting mat, which I just had. Oh, thank you, Greg. It's a good thing you're here. Okay. And while I cut these, Brock, tell us how many UFOs people still need to bind.
All right, before we get to that, we got a couple of questions, and a couple of them are just as we're about to cut. People are wondering about the extension board behind our Go Big cutter, which is part of our little shelf there.
Shall I show them again?
Sure, we've got.
Okay, before we cut. Okay. So this is a horn cabinet, and it has. It can collapse, okay? So this is like the little extension part that falls down. And look, if you wanted to, you could put strip dies here where you were cutting. Just make sure that they don't come past here. But you could store like your 10 by 24 mats here.
Yeah, and that's just like an extension that we have as part of the cabinet that we
Yes, it's just, but we do have arrow cabinets on our website now. Yes, Brock?
Yes, we got a couple of coming.
And in a couple of weeks, is that when we're going to show you like arrow furniture and?
Yeah, I believe that's scheduled for the 9th.
Okay, so you want to check it out. So there we go.
But just because we have that shelf, it doesn't mean that like it's that you have to have it, you know.
No.
If you run your cutter through without it, it's going to be fine.
Right, when it gets to the other side, it's just going to stop. Okay? That's a great comment. All right. Okay, we're going to come here for the big reveal because there's all sorts of pieces that come out. Give it some love. Slide that mat, don't lift. Okay, so quilters, here is the most important piece of information I can give you about bias binding. See the edges here? take them off and put them in your scrap pile. Because in your quilting head, you're going to think, oh, those are 2.5-inch strips, and oh, they are not. Okay? So now look at this. I can get all sorts of stretch. Bias binding, all sorts of stretch. See? All right, there we go. So if you want, and then they come in variety of sizes of strips, okay? But you could totally do the miter corner trick using bias binding. Okay? All right, so bias binding. Everyone wants to know, now you know. All right, so the next question we have is, what kind of binding would you use for a smaller project? Like a table topper or a table runner, one that you would hand stitch. My favorite size is 1 3/4-inch strips. And let me show you, we're gonna cut some strips, and then I'm gonna show you how to attach it to this lovely piece of quilted fabric here, so that I can show you how to use it. Because this is truly my favorite size, is 1 3/4, cuts 1 3/4-inch strips. Because when you're done, it's gonna reduce your bulk by half. And I feel like with smaller projects, that bulkiness is what is hard. All right, so I gotta make sure I got the right strip. Okay, so here is my 1 3/4-inch strip die. I'm gonna come right here because I just needed a couple of strips. Okay, all right. And then if I wanted to, I could use a smaller mat, but today I'm just gonna use this big one. All right, here we go. All right, Brock, tell us how many UFOs people have.
All right, so a couple of quick questions here just before we get back to that.
Okay.
Arlene wants to know, would this work with the 2 1/4-inch strips?
Yes.
Okay. And Colleen, and I'm sure many others are wanting to know as well, when's the first sew along this year?
What's the first what?
When's the first sew along this year? Next year?
Oh, Valentine's Day.
Ooh.
February 14th we start. We're gonna announce the quilt along next month. It's super fun. I'm really excited about the quilt alongs this year. We have some really fun projects. Eric and I have already bought our fabric and started making test blocks. Okay, Valentine's Day, check it out. Oh, here, I need strips. I was thinking about the quilt along. Okay, what else? Do we have other questions?
So comments. April Corey, 3 quilts done, waiting to be quilted, and 4 cut, waiting to be sewn. Jeannie said, I hand sew my binding also.
Okay.
So she's another hand binder. Vivian has 0 left to do. Jane, I have 11 UFOs. Julie says, oh boy, Julie. Oh no.
How many does Julie have?
Oh no, Julie. 73 UFOs.
Oh my goodness. So who's
I don't understand how you can start 73 projects.
73 that need binding? Listen, call all your friends and say, listen, everybody gets 3 quilts to bind. And get those done. 73. So who's the winner so far?
That's hands down the highest number we have had so far.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. We're gonna hope you get it done. All right. So now I have a 1 3/4-inch. Okay, I just have to think about what's the front, what's the back. This is the front. There we go. Okay. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. How you start your binding is such a personal thing. Like Erica starts hers differently, and I think Jill does hers differently as well. But I just come right here, and I'm gonna iron this down. Okay.
Now you say it varies of how you start your binding. Does it also vary where you start your binding?
Yeah, I always start my binding at the bottom of a quilt. So we're gonna say this is the top and this is the bottom of the quilt. This is the quilt top, okay?
Is there a reason that you always start at the bottom?
Yeah, because then when you're looking at that quilt, you don't see where the seam starts.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like people will ask me that. Okay. So now here's what I'm going to do. Because I am a good soldier here, I am going to take my ruler okay, and I'm going to mark with a pin that 1/4 inch seam. And the reason is because that's where I'm going to stop and do my miter trick. I could do it with a pen, but I don't know. I usually always have a pen. I always have a pin. Okay. Okay, so look, here we go. So now I'm going to pin it here. So I can start. Okay, and I give it a little space because when this comes around on this side, then I'm going to come past where I folded it down, and then you don't have an open seam. But I'm not going to stitch that whole way. I'm just going to stitch here to the corner and show you, and then I'm going to show you how to do this because this is super slick. All right, so while I'm sewing this, let me move my water. Okay, Brock, do we have questions?
Got a few more comments here.
Okay.
Nancy Brooks has 37 UFOs to go.
And do they all need binding?
I do not know what state they are in, but that's all I'm getting here. Jacqueline V has 40. Janelle Vincent has 3 UFOs that need to be bound, 18 to quilt, then binded. Let's see. Wow. Shelly has over 40 as well.
Oh my
Doris
goodness.
has 50 UFOs.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Nancy W, for UFOs, there aren't enough zeros. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Just binding. Only one. My first ever quilt I made. It's okay, she's old.
Okay.
Whew.
There we go. Okay, so I've come to that 1/4 inch, and I put my needle down, and put my needle down, my presser foot up, so that I can come right here. So I came right here, and I went off at 45 degrees. Okay. Now what you're going to do is you're going to come right here. And bring this down. That way, I get a nice sharp corner, and I'm going to pin it right here. Okay. Well, I want to know if you have 75 UFOs, like what are you going to do when you finish them? Are you going to give them to charity? We should talk about that. Okay. So I'm just going to come right here for a minute and backstitch. Okay. I'm going to cut this off so we don't have to worry about it. Okay. So now, quilters, I would continue all the way around, right? And I would bring that end right here, stitch it down, because see, look, then you don't have an open edge. And then you're all going to ask me, how do I do this corner? Well, this is how I do this corner. So what I'm going to do is I am going to press on the front away from the seam. Here, Greg, I'll help. Okay. Okay. Then on this side, which is now the back, I am going to give it a little press here because we're gonna fold this little 1 3/4 inch piece down. I'll show you. Don't panic. Okay. Boy, you need an iron if you're going to bind. I'm just saying. Okay, so now watch this. Now I'm going to bring the fabric down to the edge of my quilt. Brock, that kind of scared me. What is that?
It's the sound of my stomach rumbling.
Oh, excellent. Okay. We had a little noise here in the Dream Studio. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And then where it comes here to the corner, you'll see it in just a second. Okay, so I folded it down so it meets the edge. Okay, and now I can bring this side up and fold it down so it meets the edge. Okay, and now this is perfect for hand stitching. Okay, and look how nice it looks on this side. Nice and tidy. Okay, so if I were stitching this by hand, I would for sure put a little pin right here so my corners stay neat. But isn't that slick? So you're not using 2.5 inches of fabric that you have to fold in half and then fold over again. This is just 2 layers of fabric on one side and just 1 layer on this side, and it's gonna lay nice and flat. So if you're thinking of doing handwork, like on a table topper or a table runner or some small project, wall hanging, use 1 3/4 inch fabric or strips. Okay. All right, Brock, before we get to my favorite kind of binding, do we have questions? And UFOs.
For UFOs, Roberta J says she has 27.
Wow.
Robin L says, I have 1 charity quilt left. Good for you. And Wendy Peterson, 73 quilts to bind.
Holy smokes. That's amazing. Who on our team is the closest to that number?
That would be Chelsea. She guessed the
Chelsea.
highest.
Chelsea's getting the gold star today. All right. All right, so now let's do my favorite kind of binding, which is called flange binding. And for this, you need 2 dies, 1 3/4, which we just cut, and 1.5 inch strips. And hey, our winner today, just because it's the last show of the year, if you are a winner today and you want the 2 dies to make flange binding, I will send you those. Or if you have the 2 dies to make flange binding, just tell us what size strip die and we'll send it to you. I'm feeling very festive about that. Brock, do you have big plans for the new year?
Oh, I've got the same plans I've had for a while, which is to watch the Twilight Zone marathon on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Excellent. Excellent.
We had a question here from Wendy P, who says, I would love to see Pam demo binding a scalloped edge quilt. I bought the AQ die, but it's pretty intimidating for me. So is there any chance we could do that and demonstrate that in the future at some point?
Okay. I will write myself a note, and maybe here in the next few weeks, I'll do it. That's a great question. First of all, you're going to use bias binding, in case anybody wondered. Okay? All right. So now I have 1 3/4 inch strips and 1.5 inch strips. Look at all the static here in the Dream Studio. All righty. So flange binding, it truly is my favorite, because it allows you to have a little pop of color. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the 2 sizes, 1.5. Someone on AccuQuilt and Beyond, I can't remember who it was, made flange binding out of striped Halloween fabric for the win. It was like a triple, what do they call that? A hat trick in soccer. Okay, so look. I have them too. Now notice, they're different sizes, but that's what we want. Okay, so I'm just gonna sew some of this. Now this is really important, quilters, that you make sure you just have that 1/4 inch seam. Okay, you want the seam to be really straight because as you're sewing the flange, you want the flange to be straight. Okay. Okay. We have much flange binding. Okay. I'm going to cut this off here. Okay. So now, this is the best. No, seriously, Brock, what was that? Was that like the dehumidifier?
Might have been something coming from the warehouse.
Oh, okay. All right, so normally quilters, when we are ironing binding, we just take it and fold it in half at the seam. Okay, but it doesn't work there. So with flange binding, here's what I do. Okay, I'm just going to give it a little press. Okay, just a little press towards the smaller strip. Okay, I actually had a dream about this last night, Brock, about how I was making flange binding. Okay, so now look. See right here is this little piece of color that you get because we have 2 different sizes, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press at the edge. You can see how fun this is. Does your mom make flange binding, Brock?
You know, I don't think it's a regular occurrence for her.
Okay, just on special occasions.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so here's the thing you need to know. The wider strip is the flange color. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right? So now what you're going to do, and I'm going to come and do the corner because you all want to know how to do that, and plus I am going to do the end because you want to know how to do that as well. Okay, so I'm going to just cut this right here. Okay, so I have to think about this. Okay, here's the top of my quilt. I want right sides together. Here, I'm going to do it here. Okay. See, I want the back of the quilt. This is why we practice. So I want right sides together because this one I'm actually going to stitch on the front, and this is the front of my quilt. Okay? Right sides together. Now, I typically, when I make flange binding right here on this edge, I am going to just press it in. I'm going to press it open and then just press it in like 1/4 inch. That way you don't get a raw edge. Okay, so I'm going to come right here. That's like 1/2 inch, but it's okay. 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 And then just so you know, the fabric is hot. Okay. make sure that my edge lines up with the seam, right? And then I'm going to press this down. I should have used a more distinct color, but that's okay. Okay, so look. See right here is that little flange piece. And I've pressed my seam so there's not a raw edge. So when I come back the other direction, after I've sewn the corners, because you all want to know how to do this, then just like I did there, I'm going to tuck this in just right here so that it lines up. So you can see this tiny little flange piece right here. And I put it, I kept it straight. I didn't want it at an angle. I want it to come back. So then you're not going to see the seam, which is important, okay? All right, so now that I have done that, ooh. All right, Brock, do we have questions before I start sewing this?
So a lot of the questions we've gotten, we've already kind of answered just as you're going through the process. So
good.
Good on you.
Good on me. Sometimes I do it right. Okay, so right sides together, the flange down towards the back of the quilt, because we're going to sew it on the other side. We're going to stitch in said ditch. Okay, so just like my other one, I'm going to come down here. There are little strips of fabric all over the floor here. Ah. Are we good? We are. Okay. So I'm going to come here to the corner, keep my needle down, lift up my presser foot, come off the edge. Okay. Then I'm going to do the exact same thing like I always do. I'm going to come right here, fold it up, bring it down to 90 degrees, okay? Put a little pin in there, okay? And then I'm just going to stitch right here along the edge.
You said a question come in from Robin A.
Hi, Robin.
Can you miter flange binding?
Well, here's what I have learned. No, because it's really hard to line up the flange once the piece has been mitered. That's why I do just the straight little seam. But yeah, I tried it a whole bunch of different ways because I really wanted to be the most efficient. Okay. Cut off all these strings. Okay, now I have that same feeling, Brock, as I did a couple of weeks ago when I was making the crossbody bag. Just making sure it's going to work. Okay, so I'm going to press away from the back. Okay. See how nice and pretty our binding looks? Okay. And then I'm going to come here to the front. You can see this little strip of flange right there. I'm going to press it down. And then I'm going to come here and I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did in the corner on the hand stitching. I'm just going to open it up and press it down. Okay. And then look, can we get a nice tight shot of this, Brock? So right here, we're going to stitch in the ditch. So right here is that perfect corner. Now here's kind of a cool thing. Maybe you don't want to use pins. I learned this trick. You can just take, we have June Taylor fabric glue, okay? And you can just put it right here on your binding. And then you can just put it right down, okay? And I like to give it a little press. Because now it's going to stick. Super slick. Okay, and then here's my corner. Okay. And then you could glue right there as well. So see, look at that. Flange binding. Oh, and then let me show you how to do this. Then you're just gonna come right here and stitch in the stitch. So I'm gonna stitch in the ditch, and then I'm gonna show you what it looks like on the back, because it's super slick. And since you've done that little binding at 1 3/4 and 1 1/2, now you have a little ditch with which to stitch. Oh, here, I'll come to the corner because you all want to know what it looks like. So when I come to the corner, I'm going to come until I'm right there to the flange piece on the other side. Keep my needle down. Bring my presser foot up. Stitch in the ditch. I love it. Okay, hold on here, I'll show you. Okay, so look at how fun this binding is. Flange binding. Okay, right there. Ta-da. All right, Mr. Brock, any final questions before we close down the last show of 2023?
We do have one more from
Okay.
Helen W. She asks, can you make the flange to show larger than 1/4 inch?
You know what? People ask me that question a lot, and I'm going to tell you the only 2 dies that I think work together are the 1 1/2 and the 1 3/4. Though I have seen people use the 2-inch strip and the 1 1/2. Then that little piece of flange is bigger. But keep in mind, it also makes the binding bigger. As you fold it over, it's going to cover more of your quilt. So something to think about. Okay.
That was it.
All right. Mr. Brock, do you want to announce our winner of today's AccuQuilt Live?
I can do that. If I could get a drum roll, please. It is Patsy S. from Maumelle, Arkansas.
Mel, go see my brother who lives just down the street. Tell him I sent you. All right, quilters, be sure and check out the AccuQuilt website for some great deals here at the end of the year. Go to accuquilt.com/party. And hey, Brock, what if they wanted to get this month's die to try the Go Fractured Tumbler?
You are out of luck.
You are out of luck
For now?
for now. Yep, but you
Question
can
mark?
you can be emailed when you want it to come back in stock. They'll let you know.
Yep.
Okay. And where can they find the luxury blankets?
On the website.
At Memory Stitch.
Memory Stitch.
memorystitch.com. They also have some options for like t-shirt quilts. Maybe you're looking for, listen, if you're thinking about graduation, you should think about now and start making your t-shirt quilts now. We have some really great June Taylor t-shirt quilts, and Memory Stitch can do them as well. All right, so hey, now Brock, you will not have your smiling face on camera next year. Who is going to be our new co-host in 2024?
We are very pleased to announce again that
Yes.
Chris Marchini will be your new co-host for your Wednesday shows next year.
He is from Rose City Quilts. You can find him on Instagram and Facebook, and he is super excited. And he had the cutest little video last week on Instagram about how we announced that he is our new co-host. So he will be here with me on Wednesdays. On Wednesdays that we do the quilt along, obviously the lovely Eric and I are here together. But Brock, people have asked, are you leaving the company?
Oh, no. No, I'm still here.
He's still here. He'll fill in case Chris is sick or something. But no, Brock is one of our producers of our show, and so he is behind the camera during the new year. All right, Chelsea, who is helping us off camera today? Who's helping us in the comment section?
That would be Katie and Lauren and Courtney today.
Katie and Lauren and Courtney, thank you for helping us with the comments. We appreciate it. Here in the Dream Studio, we have Greg, and Chelsea is here. And we're happy for her to fill in for Kenyon, and of course Brock. On behalf of our entire team, hey, have a safe and happy new year. We'll see you back in 2024 with our new co-host, Chris Marchini.
Thanks so much for watching. To learn more about your quilting craft, be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for live events every Tuesday and Wednesday. You can check out the events page on the AccuQuilt website for more details on upcoming shows. And if you're looking for even more inspiration, visit our blog for exclusive tutorials filled with tips and tricks. And remember, at AccuQuilt, we help you cut time so you can quilt more.
Join me and Erica on Tuesday, January 2nd at 12 noon Central Time as we launch the first Die to Try of 2024. Then join me on Wednesday, January 3rd as we make a super cute project using that newest Die to Try.